Have you ever looked into a woman's eyes and felt something stirring, something ancient, wild, and wordless, but you couldn't name it? A glance soft as honey, but carrying the scent of danger. A gesture of tenderness that unarms you not through force, but through surrender. You thought it was love. You thought it was a poem. But what if it was design? Not deception. Design. A design older than scripture, deeper than dogma woven into the very fabric of life itself. Men today are taught to run from that idea, taught to worship women as sacred, soft, innocent. But what if that is only half the truth? What if woman is not your comfort, but your crucible? Not your enemy, but your ultimate test? This is the truth that Socrates faced not with bitterness, but with clarity. He was not anti-woman. He was not cynical. He was not wounded. He was awake. He saw what most modern men are no longer allowed to see. That woman, in her essence, is not built like man. Where man is constructed in straight-line celerity, structure, goal, woman moves in spirals intuition, ambiguity, desire. She is not built to overpower you. She is built to invite your transformation. But if you are not ready, she will unravel you. You will confuse seduction with truth. You will confuse approval with love. You will confuse surrender with safety. And slowly, without a single shout, without a single wound, you will forget who you are. Socrates understood. If you enter a labyrinth and do not know it is a labyrinth, you will believe it is paradise. Until it is too late. The feminine is not evil, but it is powerful. And every power in the world must be met with awareness or it turns into a trap. This is what no one tells you. That woman is not the enemy, but she is the mirror. She reflects what you haven't yet mastered in yourself. If you're needy, she will pull away. If you're weak, she will dominate. If you're fake, she will expose it. If you live for her validation, she will grow cold. And not because she is cruel, but because life demands your growth. And she is life. Men today have been taught to kneel before this force, to apologize for their masculinity, to suppress their instincts, to become agreeable, digestible, invisible. But Socrates didn't kneel. He questioned. He probed. And for that, they killed him. Because a man who questions is a man who can't be controlled. And a man who sees woman not as goddess, not as servant, not as reward, but as challenge, as chaos, as cosmic counterpart, is a man who cannot be domesticated. That is your calling, not to dominate, not to submit, but to meet her with clarity, to stand in the storm and not flinch, to feel the fire and not be consumed, to look into the mystery and not lose your name. So I ask you now, when you loved her, did you become more of yourself or less? When you served her, did you grow stronger or smaller? When you let her shape your choices, did you expand or vanish? Because if you lost yourself in her beauty, in her moods, in her validation, then you did not love her. You worshipped her. And worship without understanding is slavery. Ask yourself truly, as Socrates once asked of all things, why does she manipulate through silence, not speech? Why is her warmth available only when she needs something, yet when you need something, her gaze turns cold? Why does every disagreement end not with a clear victory of logic, but with you drowning in guilt? This isn't personal failure. It's a design, an ancient strategy. And if you do not see it, you will be moved by it. While still believing you are in love, you think you are leading, but you are being led. You think you are protecting her, but you are guarding the very cage that holds you hostage. You think that by working harder, loving harder, sacrificing more, she will stay. But the brutal truth is, she stays because you're performing. And the moment you collapse, she will leave. Not because she's cruel, but because you never understood the machinery of an unconscious feminine soul. Socrates spoke of the just soul, where reason governs appetite. But how many men today walk around in suits, talk about ambition, about legacy, Yet every decision orbits around a glance, a nod, a silent freeze from a woman. How many men build empires, chase greatness, not to express their essence, but to win her smile? And if she leaves tomorrow, their empire falls. Because it was never built from their soul. It was built to earn her validation. A foundation made not of purpose, but of need. That is not sovereignty. That is not manhood. That is a silent enslavement, dressed in the costume of devotion. Do not mistake performance for power. Do not confuse sacrifice with integrity. And never believe that love must come at the cost of your soul. Brother, she is not the enemy. The enemy is your blindness to her complexity. She is not a demon. But if you treat her as an angel when she is, in truth, a storm of contradictions, a strategist of survival, a creature of ancient instinct, then you are the one guilty of ignorance. And ignorance, as Socrates warned, is the most dangerous form of death. The death of soul. The death of freedom. The death of your truest self, while you still walk in the costume of someone else. Socrates did not warn you about her. He warned you about you. Because when you fail to understand the nature of a woman, she becomes neither your savior nor your destroyer. She becomes your test. And the man who fails that test will be crushed beneath the weight of the illusion he built with his own hands. You were taught to seek beauty, but Socrates knew beauty is the bait. The real question is not how she looks, but why she enchants. And here is where men fall. You chase the form. You forget the essence. You get drunk on her touch, but refuse to study the recurring patterns in her actions. You do not examine. You fall. And when you fall, she does not catch you. Not because she is cruel, but because she was never designed to. She selects. She tests. She adapts. But she does not build. That burden belongs to you. That is the curse. That is the responsibility. That is the crown placed upon a man's head by the weight of existence itself. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But I say to you, the unexamined desire is even more dangerous. You must question even your yearning for her. You must interrogate your hunger, your weakness, your secret need to be seen, to be chosen, to be needed. If you do not, she will. She will see the shadows you refuse to face. And she will use them, not out of malice, but out of nature. As the river does not hate the stone, it erodes. The woman does not hate the man she surpasses. She is only following her design. But what about you? Are you living in alignment with your nature? Socrates lived among men who believed that power lay in ballots, in coin, in the applause of the crowd. But he knew the truth. Real power belongs to the man who cannot be deceived, especially by what he loves. And that is where it all begins. You were not born to orbit a woman. You were born to rule yourself, to command your impulses before you attempt to command the world, to build a citadel within your soul so fortified that no gaze, no breath, no whisper can breach its walls. Socrates once said, "Love, if not governed by reason, becomes a kind of divine madness, still madness, no matter how sacred." He described the soul pulled by lust as a creature with broken wings, crawling in circles, trapped in the loop of craving. Look around you. How many men today are crawling in that loop? How many have sacrificed their mission, their values, their sovereignty just to earn a glance, a sigh, a fleeting moment of warmth inside a soft body? You call it love, but to her it was only timing. You did not come into this life to be consumed by the feminine. You came to understand it. Socrates observed that while men often pursue truth, women seek agreement, not with what's right, but with what feels safe. This is not an insult. It is a survival strategy sharpened by millennia of evolution. It is adaptive wisdom, not deception. But you must learn to see it clearly. She does not seek what is morally right. She seeks what will secure her continuity. What signals strength, dominance, certainty. It is not your intelligence that captivates her. It is your ambition. It is your groundedness. It is your ability to shape your reality with spine and silence. But if you place the crown upon her head before you've even earned it for yourself, she will never bow. If you raise her above your mission, above your sovereignty, she will test you relentlessly until you collapse. Not because she is cruel, but because you've revealed the most dangerous truth, that your soul can be bought. Socrates believed the soul had three parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. And a noble man is one in whom reason commands. But when desire, sexual, emotional, social takes the reins, the man begins to disintegrate. He no longer leads. He follows not her, but the gnawing hunger within himself for her. You know men like this. So do I. They are the ones who no longer shine with a light of their own, but dimly reflect the glow she chooses to give them. Men who kneel but do not know the altar they've surrendered to. Men who would burn their own ideals just to keep her warm. And if you don't wake up, you will become one of them. Socrates lived among men who confused noise for wisdom, beauty for virtue, charm for truth. He saw through it all. And when he challenged it, they killed him. But his voice still echoes. Not to shout over the crowd, not to save the masses drunk on illusions, but to whisper to you. The man willing to see things as they are. He saw that woman, by nature, is tethered to the present, to emotion, to safety, to the moment. And man is both cursed and blessed. With the burden of the future, your mind reaches forward. Your soul aches to leave behind a legacy. Your spine was designed to carry vision, but vision is expensive. And the woman beautiful, soft and inviting will tempt you to forget it, to trade it for warmth, for ease, for the illusion of peace. But you must not. Your peace must come from clarity, not from her compliance. She will test your frame. She will challenge the firmness of your convictions. She will mirror your insecurities back at you with surgical precision. And if you do not govern yourself, she will do it for you. Again, not from malice, but from the exquisite instinct for survival she was born with. Socrates did not teach us to hate the world. He taught us to question it, not to fear the forces that confuse us, but to shine the light of wisdom upon them. So shine your light upon her, not with suspicion, but with understanding, not to diminish her, but to elevate yourself. Let her be complex, let her be fluid, let her be what she is. But let you be the fixed star she orbits not, a drifting meteor caught in her gravity. She will respect you not when you serve her desires blindly, but when you reveal your spine and say, I see you clearly, and I will not abandon my mission. That is how you love a woman without losing yourself. She is not your anchor. She is the tide. And tides are not to be controlled, nor blamed, they are to be understood. But most men today don't even realize that they've stepped into the water until it's up to their necks, until their feet no longer touch the ground, until they're gasping not from betrayal, but from their own refusal to understand the ocean they willingly entered. You must become a philosopher of your own instincts. You must dissect them like Socrates dissected language. Because, as he warned us long ago, a man is not destroyed by violence alone. He is dismantled, piece by piece, by the desires he does not dare question. And among all desires, none blinds a man more thoroughly than his hunger for the feminine. But this hunger is not a problem in itself. It becomes a problem when it goes unexamined. You believe you love her. You believe you are loyal, protective, giving. But pause and ask yourself, why? Why do you give everything you have and ask for nothing in return? Why do you tolerate the slow erosion of your self-worth, your mission, your solitude? Why do you feel guilty for wanting space, for needing silence, for asking her to see you? That is not love. That is addiction dressed as devotion. That is servitude dressed as chivalry. And most dangerously, it is idolatry dressed as intimacy. You don't love her. You love the idea of being loved by her. And in that confusion, You place the crown on her head before placing it on your own. You exalt her above your path, your values, your discipline. You forsake your vision to earn her validation. And in doing so, you tell her the unspeakable, that your soul can be bought. And a woman, no matter how kind, cannot love what she does not respect. Socrates taught that the soul has three parts: reason, spirit, and desire. And the noble man is the one who puts reason at the helm, who makes desire serve his mission, not the other way around. But when you allow emotion, lust, or the longing for approval to lead your soul fractures, you do not lead her. You chase her shadow. You do not protect her. You serve her volatility. You do not rise. You revolve. And here's the tragic irony. She did not ask you to do this. She only tested you. She only looked at you, felt your weight, searched for your edges, and you vanished into softness. Not because she is evil, but because you are unformed. She is not a goddess or a demon. She is a mirror. She reflects back to you the strength or weakness of your structure. If you are whole, she becomes softer. If you are cracked, she becomes fire. You cannot expect her to respect what you yourself have abandoned. You cannot expect her to follow where you dare not lead. And if your entire life begins to orbit her changing moods, her validation, her withholding, her affection, you are not her partner. You are her possession. You are no longer a man. You are a satellite. Socrates would not yell at you. He would not insult you. He would simply ask you, again and again, is this the life of a free man? And if your answer requires justification, then the answer is already clear. You were born to stand in the storm, not to be swayed by every gust of wind that carries perfume. You were born to build, to govern the kingdom within. And the moment you forget that, the moment you place her pleasure, her praise, her peace above your own purpose, you will become a man hollowed out by his own longing. The longing itself is not wrong, but to worship it is to kneel before a God that will never love you back. So now I ask you, as Socrates would, who are you when no woman is watching? What do you build when no applause is promised? What do you believe when you are alone with your conscience? Because that is the man she might learn to follow. But even if she doesn't, you must become him anyway. She is not your anchor. She is the tide. And if you don't understand that difference, you will drown. You were not born to orbit her. You were not born to chase approval, to mold your soul around her moods, to define your manhood by how often she smiles. But that's exactly what happens when you let her gaze become your mirror. The moment you let her affection determine your value, you stop being a man and start becoming a satellite, spinning endlessly, glowing only when she decides to shine light on you. She may keep you around, but not because she needs you, because it's convenient. And one day, that convenience will expire. You see, the world is full of men who thought they could earn love by worshiping her. Men who believed that the more they yielded, the more she would stay. But love does not blossom in the soil of worship. Love grows in the presence of sovereignty. In Menigma, Socrates asked, "Can virtue be taught?" But the more vital question he posed on that echoes even louder today is this: do modern men even recognize what masculine virtue is anymore? Do you? Do you know the true nature of masculine virtue before you offer it to her? Or have you confused devotion with discipline, lust with loyalty, niceness with love? Because let me tell you, she doesn't want your weakness. She doesn't crave your dependence. She's not asking for a man who's nice. She's longing for a man who is real. And a real man does not orbit feminine energy. He orbits truth. He orbits justice. He orbits beauty. He walks the path of principle. And if she can keep pace with that rhythm, if she can walk alongside him without asking him to slow down or kneel, then she may join him. Not because he commands her, but because he has earned it. When she sees a man governed by principle instead of persuasion, when she sees him speak with restraint, lead with clarity, love without losing himself, she will follow. Not out of submission, out of reverence. Socrates didn't live to flatter the world. He lived to question it. And he died for that commitment. Not because he hated the crowd, but because he refused to betray his soul for its applause. Likewise, if you place a crown on her head before you've earned the right to wear your own, she will never bow. If you elevate her above your mission, she will test you until you collapse. Not because she's cruel, but because your soul has revealed its price. And once a man shows that his integrity can be bought with comfort, sex, or a smile, he ceases to be a fortress. He becomes a servant. Socrates taught that the soul is divided into three parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. The noble man is ruled by reason. But when appetite, your desire for her, your need for comfort, your obsession with being chosen becomes the compass, your entire architecture begins to crumble. You stop leading. You start following. Not her footsteps, but your hunger for her approval. You've seen men like this. I have too. They are men with no light except the one she grants them. Men who kneel and don't know to what altar they kneel. Men who would burn down their own ideals just to keep her warm. And if you're not vigilant, you will become one of them. That's why Socrates still speaks. Not to the masses, not to the spellbound, but to you, the man willing to see clearly. He saw that women are tied to the now, the present, the emotional, the moment. Men, on the other hand, are both cursed and blessed with a burden for the future. Your mind stretches forward. Your soul aches for legacy. Your spine carries the weight of vision. And that vision is expensive. And the woman, beautiful and soft and divine as she maybe will tempt you to trade it. For warmth, for comfort, for the illusion of peace. You are not allowed. Your peace must come from clarity, not compliance. She will test your frame. She will probe the strength of your convictions. She will mirror your insecurities back to you with precision. And if you do not master yourself, she will do it for you. Not out of malice, out of instinct. Socrates didn't teach us to resent the world. He taught us to interrogate it, to illuminate and not to accuse, to understand, not to suppress. And that includes her. Illuminate her not with suspicion, but with awareness. Understand her not to dominate, but to remain undominated. This is the paradox Socrates knew well. Power does not come to the man who seeks it. It comes to the man who no longer needs it from any, especially not from her. The moment you stop craving her approval, the moment your soul turns inward and asks not, "How can I be wanted?" but instead, "What is the shape of my spirit?" that is the moment you become untouchable. Not because you've grown numb, but because you've become whole. Wholeness, the forgotten wealth of men. The temples of ancient Athens were not built to honor comfort. They were carved in virtue, scaled by struggle, and whispered to men through the mouths of philosophers. Know thyself. Not please her, not become what she hopes you'll be, but simply know, because in knowing, there is power, and in power, there is peace. But most men today do not live in peace. They live in warfare, not with her, but with the lie they tell themselves every day, that her love will redeem them, that her body is the cure for their unrest, that her smile will stand in place of a purpose. But that is not love. That is intoxication. And no true philosopher, no man of truth, can remain drunk and still see clearly. Socrates spoke of ideal forms, those spiritual blueprints behind every fleeting shadow of the material world. There is a form of masculinity, just as there is a form of femininity. But modern men chase only the shadows. They worship curves. They bow to perfume. They build shrines to glances and posture and sensual illusions. They do not pause to ask, what is this form serving? What does it protect? And what does it devour? She is not the enemy. She is efficiency. She is not a liar. She is adaptation. She is not broken. She is a perfect system of survival. She is not here to save you. She is here to test you. She is not here to complete your soul. She is here to expose the parts of it you still refuse to claim. And if you place your masculinity in her hands, if you let her whims define your worth, if you assign your identity to her affection, then you are not loving her. You are asking her to do a job she was never born to perform, and she will resent you for it. You were not made to be absorbed into her. You were made to hold yourself. You were made to carry the unbearable weight of truth, to walk the razor's edge of solitude, to ask, like Socrates, is this truly good, or does it only feel good? Because woman is not evil, she is seductive. And seduction is not a crime, but it is a force. It is the wave. You must be the rock, and the only way to hold your ground, the only way to not be swept away, is not by demonizing her, but by discovering you. What do you believe in when no one is watching? What principle would you die for, even if she laughs at it? What sacred oath have you taken with your own soul, that not even her tears could make you abandon? That, my brother, is what makes a man. Not charm, not status, not conquest, but alignment. Socrates was murdered not because he fought armies, but because he told the truth to himself, to the state, to the collective lie we all participate in. And the greatest lie of all is this, that a man can be completed by something outside of himself. No, a man is only complete when he no longer needs to be. Her instinct is sharper than any romantic fantasy you've projected onto her. Her decisions move faster than your infatuation ever could. And when your vision blurs with lust, with longing, with the ache of unfulfilled craving, she sees it. She sees what you cannot, your weakness. Socrates never said this outright, but it echoes between every line of his dialogues. Either you are led by reason, or you are ruled by appetite. There is no third kingdom. There is no neutral ground. The man who falls into her arms without a compass does not become free. He becomes lost. He may still be smiling, but deep down, he is drowning. Drowning in waters he never learned how to swim in. Waters whose currents are ancient. Waters that do not care for the name of love. And what becomes of this man? He turns bitter. He blames her for the whirlpools that he refused to map. He cries betrayal, but he never once asked, what part of me allowed this? But the man forged in the fires of clarity, the man who has interrogated his own instincts, who has stared down the beast of his hunger and survived, who has dismantled illusion before it whispered seduction into his ear. That man does not drown. He sails, and she will respect him, not because he is cruel, not because he dominates, but because he is clear, because his presence isn't built from flattery or submission, but from structure, from sovereignty, from the quiet thunder of a man who governs himself. And let this be known, respect always precedes love. You do not earn a woman's devotion by becoming her mirror. You earn it by becoming her counterbalance. Not reactive, but grounded. Not fragile, but firm in purpose. Not craving her approval, but offering a standard she can choose to rise to. She tests your frame not because she is malicious, but because she needs to know it's real. Because only in the presence of something unmoved can she finally collapse into something true. So do not curse her for sensing your fault lines. Bless her for exposing them, and then fix them not for her, but for you. The man who walks the earth with his soul aligned will never fear a woman's storm, because he knows that he is the shore, and the tide always returns to what does not run. In the symposium, Socrates recounts a lesson he once received from Diotima, a woman who shattered his understanding of love. She told him that love is not about indulging the flesh. Love is a ladder, a sacred ascent from the love of a single body to the love of all beauty, to the love of the mind, and ultimately, to the love of the divine. But most men, they never climb. They rot at the first rung. They wither in the pit called pleasure. They never pause to ask what that passion was originally meant to point toward. They never realize it was meant to lift, not consume. But you must climb. Because she is not the ending. She is the opening question. She is not the kingdom. She is the gate. She is not the path. She is the wind.